You know, the front relax pose, the front double bi, the front lat spread, everything from the front.
Mm-hmm.
Your upper quads have to be lit up.
Yep.
At all times.
Absolutely.
You have to be split up to your hips at all times.
Absolutely.
Meaning not 1 second that you are on stage should your upper quads not be split. And I tell this to people, and they go, yeah. And then they walk on stage, and their upper quads are not there, and they're not split, and they maybe they split for a second when they hit a shot, and then they fade.
Yeah.
And then they get third. And they go, well, I guess I got to be bigger. And I'm like, no, you gave away at least one spot with your legs.
I can't with that. Like, that's a whole topic of itself. Like, when you first went in the gym, I was telling Nikki this morning while it was happening, while they were 2 feet away from me. I went to the gym and I was like, all right, I want to get big. Now, that could mean anything. I think most guys that go to the gym, they want to get a little bigger. It doesn't mean they want to be fucking monsters, but they want to be bigger.
For sure.
I went to the gym. I looked at the biggest guys. What are they doing?
Right.
I've never in my entire life seen a guy above average doing that.
Yeah.
So she brought up the fact that the amount of information that's out there, the amount of bad information that's out there, somehow people grab that off of Instagram or wherever, ignore who it came from, and then just adopt it. And they still don't see what's right in front of them in the gym, which is no one with any sort of muscularity is doing this. They had one plate, so it's 45 pounds. Also, mind you, gravity is straight up and down, so it's not even 45 pounds. It's on a fucking hammer strength.
And what are they doing exactly? Like you said, sideways? Like the...
Let me get in here. Let me get into my fucking hammer strength machine, but the front of it's here, and I'm going to grab it here.
Oh.
And this is my range of motion, mind you. So my chest, my pec doesn't actually like stretch at all.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, but I can feel it. You know, here.
Oh, yeah. Like you probably get a hell of a contraction, and I bet that's what that contraction is.
And that's why I'm going to get fucking huge.
Okay.
Even though I've never seen anyone do it. And even though the guy that came right after me immediately sat on it like a normal fucking person and started lifting weight. I don't know. So I got to go off. Here we go. This better be recording because here we go.
I guess we started the show.
I saw a guy put up a video this weekend. He said, hell of a chest day. And it was a video in his story, right?
Yeah.
Guess what he's doing? He's got dumbbells, okay? They're at his sides.
Okay.
He's bringing them up like this, okay?
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Otherwise known as like a front raise.
Yeah.
But that was for chest. I'm like, yeah, I can contract my chest doing that.
Yeah, I could do that too.
But gravity is still straight up and down.
Yeah.
How is that a fucking... Like, in what planet is that a chest movement?
Yeah.
That guy definitely gets sideways on the goddamn Smith machine and does that shit. Yeah. So anyways,
you're not...
And, you know, I tell people all the time, I don't care what other people do. I'm like, none of my fucking business. You're not hurting anybody. But I still can't... It's like... I don't care if you're a shitty driver either, but, you know, if the blinking yellow to turn left is on, at least pull out the intersection so I don't get fucked by the deal.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. I'm like, I know I preach that you should just let people do what they do, but sometimes the stupidity hurts me. It hurts my soul. Ron's calling.
Yeah. Oh, Ron. Ron's calling you.
What's up?
On your phone.
I didn't see your message in time, dude. What are you guys doing?
We're on the show. You're on the show right now. I'm twisting you. We're on the show. We just started. Were you taking a nap?
What's going on with Ron? What's he
No,
doing?
I was looking for food. Half the places are closed because of the fucking funeral.
Oh. Is he in England already?
Yeah, he's
I'm
in England.
walking around looking for...
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
See, that's bullshit.
So where is
Why
he?
would they be
Ask him what city is he in right now?
He's in Birmingham. I know the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
What are you doing there so early? What are you doing for the next, 3 days?
Yeah.
I should have asked more questions about my schedule. I don't know why they brought me so early. I thought there was a bunch of stuff to do. And I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm going to hang out with Dino a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, because you texted me, and you were like, let's do 11 o'clock on Thursday. I'm like, Well, I get there like 8:35 in the morning. I mean, if I can make it, I'll do it. But I'm coming from the flight with my bags, and I'm down. But
well, I know. Anyways, we might move that to Friday.
Okay.
So I'll figure it out. But I mean, I can grab my food. I ordered food, so I'm just waiting for my food. But I go up to my room in a bit and hop on. I don't know what.
Yeah, just do that. Just dive on, and we'll hit the ground. I mean, you're on right now, so everybody knows that you're going to pop on at some point.
Okay, all good.
All right, see ya.
Man, he's already there.
So he was taking off. That's how this happened. That's why I texted you this morning, because I'm sitting there and I don't consume a lot of social media anymore.
Right.
I don't like people at all. So I just I literally go to friends' pages. That's the other thing. All my friends are shadow banned. I have to go look.
You have to
I have to go look for Ron.
Yeah.
I find him and I'm like, oh, good, Jed.
Yeah.
So I'm watching Jed and it says last walk with Dad for the next 8 days, and it was 14 hours ago. And I'm like, 14 hours.
Do the math.
And I was like, I don't think he's going to be on the thing.
That's probably that's a good assumption there.
So there it was. So anyways, but yeah, that was how I figured out that he wasn't going to be on. I text him, I text you, then he got back to me and he's like, well, I might be able to get on. I was like, all right, well,
we'll see what
if
happens.
It works, cool. If not, Ron, Scott will wear a West Coast Iron shirt in your honor.
Yeah.
I'll wear my mutant outfit to remind everyone that if they go to IamMutant.com, they can use the code Dusty20. You could have used the code Big Ron 20 if he was here.
But no, screw it. Not on this show.
So you guys know what to
episode,
do. Yeah. Episode blah, blah, blah. Don't use his.
So,
all right.
Also, speaking,
I saw that you put it in, by the way. I saw you started adding it to the thing.
Of course, absolutely.
So we don't say the episode, but you tell them the episode. So you've just taken the power.
Yeah. We just did. Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to mention some other mutant stuff because we had a couple people comment on the last episode, and they said, "Please tell Mutant to stock 4XL T-shirts." So
I have bad news for you.
Yeah.
They're also going to stock 5XL.
Okay. That's bad? That's bad news?
Well, he only asked for 4, so I don't know if 5 is going to offend him. He has something to grow into. Yes, so we already talked, and it should be in the October orders.
I love seeing this, though.
The 3, 4, and 5XLs. Definitely the 3 and 4s, but they're all going to be available because I make my own shirts.
Yeah.
Currently. But yeah, so the big boss already handled that. They're ordered. And in fact, so a lot of people liked my, what was it called?
Was it the Fuck Attention shirt? Is that the one?
Fuck Attention?
Yes.
Yeah. We're making that for Mutant now. So
I love
it's a
that
Dusty
idea.
Mutant collaboration. So we just put them together and those will be available shortly. Ron has his own shirt.
Oh.
Sean has his own shirt. We all got our own stuff. I didn't put my logo on mine. They offered.
Okay.
I don't like busy shirts.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And I was like, I don't need that shit. So
can we get one that says
logo on it? I was like,
no bare feet?
No, we have one coming out that says fuck Crocs. I think. Could you imagine? That's only going to sell 50% though, because 50% of the people are like, "Well, then fuck you."
Ron was embarrassed last week, I think, of his rant about the bare feet thing because he was passionate about it. He meant it, but then afterwards he was like, "Oh, I don't want to think about his." He got very passionate about that.
Well, this is the thing about Canadians. I mean, wrong is it's there's a concern of the perception of how someone else will hear what he says.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if you know Ron at all, like there's never animosity. Like Ron could tell me, Dusty, you're being a fucking moron.
Yeah.
And he actually, it's like, you're welcome. I'm helping you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's never negative. So it's like, same thing. He doesn't want you he doesn't want to police fucking socks. He doesn't give a shit.
Right.
But then you drag him over to the gym, then people are complaining. It's like, oh, fuck.
There's no other choice at that point.
Yeah. So he just has to handle it. And that's the problem is he does think it's dirty and that's his personal side.
Right.
Like, I feel the same way. Like I don't really like, I don't really want to see you in fucking work boots in the gym.
Oh, you don't even like
Or
the work
pant-
boots.
or-
And what
or
did you do
jeans.
through the
No,
90s?
No, but like,
You know,
but work boots, jeans, like people who come straight from work.
Yeah.
It's not about the jeans or the work boots. It's like, okay, you might fuck up the pads with the jeans.
That is true.
I've actually seen dudes come into the gym like that truly are like man shit working, and then they like bring clumps of dirt through the gym. Also not a fan.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Don't actually give a fuck what's on your feet. I don't want you to fuck up the equipment or make the gym dirty. That's all. You know, I mean, I would electrocute people who don't wash their hands also. I'm a big fan of just fucking cattle prodding people. But it's frowned upon, I guess, ever since 9/11.
I gotta circle back around, though. So
you can't say circle back, though, because that's what that fucking lady used to say all the time. The
who's
Biden.
That? Oh, I don't pay
press
attention to
secretary. Oh my God, she used to always circle back, which meant she wasn't going to say shit. But go ahead, you could circle back.
Well, because we started out, excuse me, talking about that hammer strength chest press and pushing it sideways, and you know we're trying to provide education to the masses. Which, by the way, too, I had some statistics. If we can get into it in a few. I want to tell you about what's going on with the audio podcast because it's doing really well, and we're getting subscribers and listeners from all over the world. I want to give them some shout outs. But
nice.
Before we got to any of that, we're providing education. So for real, though, for anybody who's listening and they're like, yeah, I thought that's the way you were supposed to do the hammer strength chest press. You sit in it sideways, and then you get this little dat, and then you move on from there. What do you want to say?
All right, so here's the thing.
What should we be doing? We're going to break it down real simple.
First off, think about this. Where's the stretch? There isn't one. Because you're absolutely, for the first time in your life, you're bottoming out. And most of you guys have never done that before. Sorry, I was crossing things. Anyways, in the gym. So you're hitting the bottom for the first time in your life. But there's no stretch yet.
Yeah.
And I do understand, like you said, all sarcasm aside, when you come up, you're going to feel a squeeze.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm targeting right here.
Yeah.
That's not how muscle works. Okay. I like to just keep things at the most simple thing. Stretch a muscle as far as it'll stretch safely. Contract the entire muscle as much as you can.
Yes.
So here's the bottom line. You're not creating tissue doing that. You're getting a little pump. I compare it to like someone says that weight doesn't matter. It's like, well, if that's the case, go to Safeway, grab a couple cans of beans and just do 300 side laterals.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to burn at some point, or hold a baby in your arm like this for 20 minutes. Like you're going to get a pump in your bicep. It's not growing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to factor those things in. And the reason I said about the looking at people is, okay, here's something I always thought about when I was a kid. I see a guy like a Jay Cutler, and all of a sudden he's doing some different movement, okay, that I've never seen before. I'd have two questions. One, why is he doing that? And two, is that so advanced that I don't need it yet? And maybe it's not. But my point is now do that in reverse. At our gym right now, like I just showed you last week, we got Jeremy Pott, and there are probably off the top of my head 10, 15 guys in there with awesome physiques, even just normal dudes, but they're 220.
Yeah.
Big ass dudes. You've never seen any of them do that.
There you go.
So my question is, do you think that you are so advanced that you need to do that sideways that I don't need to do it?
Yeah.
Do you think you know something I don't know? Or you just, and here's what the true answer is, you're just not thinking. Because you feel a little pump and you saw it on Instagram and that's the end of it. So it must be good. But if you were really thinking, you'd glance around. And I'm not saying one person, because we all know that someone with great genetics can be fucking off in the gym and look awesome. That don't mean that you should just do what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true too.
But across the board, you're following, you're a fan of whether it's Bumstead style physiques or Seth Feroce style physiques or Ronnie Coleman. Have you seen any of them sideways in the hammer strength press? Ever?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you do have to remember too, if I'm not that far along, do I even need to do some of, you still have to, it's always a tough game to compare yourself to anybody, but I guess I get what's happening there. I get you feel that pump, and then in your brain you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that must. Here's the thing. I think it takes a long time. It can take a long time, especially for certain body parts, especially like back, to be able to feel like a good, strong contraction in that muscle. And if I'm doing these like little half reps, and that helps me to like keep that mind muscle connection, I'm squeezing the muscle, then I can see how I would equate that to like, now I'm going to grow. And listen, my thought is this: if people are doing that chest press exercise and they don't want to stop, and they don't want to, follow your advice, like literally wait a year and see what kind of progress you've made through that. And if it's working, then more power to you. Keep going. But I think what you're trying to say, Dusty, is you're trying to fast forward that so they don't have to figure it out a year later.
Well, yeah, it's just, I think the thing is, and it's funny, because we literally, when I see something that drives me crazy, it is in my brain. So Nikki has figured out how to get me off the fucking ledge. But what it comes down to is people really, and this isn't like me being funny, they don't actually think. They're in the gym, they're working out. They feel a pump, that's the end of it. But what I like to remind people with pump is it's dangerous, because most people would say, okay, what's the king movement for legs? Squats. Now, again, I actually don't prescribe to that, but most people would say that, and that's a pretty safe overall leg builder.
Sure.
But do you feel the pump in your legs doing squats as much as you do extensions?
No, you don't, do you?
Extensions are nasty.
It's so targeted. It's so targeted in the quad.
So if the only thing you're thinking about is feeling and pump, you're going to fuck yourself.
Yeah. That's a great point, man.
Because extensions are that way. I mean, when I do lying leg curls, like super strict, and like try to lift my knees at the top, my hams will cramp. I mean, it's brutal, and it's not even heavy weight. So if all I thought about was that, I'd be like, well, all I need is lying leg curls.
Yeah.
I'm all done, or a glute kickback is going to be more targeted for the glutes. But if you want a giant ass, squat 405 ass to ankles for a while.
Yeah.
Trust me, your ass will grow better. And it's not going to, you're not going to feel the contraction as much as you do doing a kickback.
Yeah.
But tomorrow morning when you go down the stairs, you're going to go, oh, fuck. I beat the shit out of my ass.
I always think what my friend Dave Calic always says. He's like, the things that work, they're not sexy. And that's the thing, man. It's like, that's not going to catch your attention as much as, something that's unique, something that's different. I remember doing, after we had Justin Shire on, he was doing this pull down at an angle. So it's like he's not pulling straight down. He's pulling kind of like toward him. And I was like, you know what? That's different. I'm going to try that as, an addition. Oh, we got Ron here. As an additional part of my workout. And, it was very different. That video got literally like 5 times as many views as if I would have done a regular pull down. People want something that looks different, and that equates to excitement, and they want to try that stuff, even if it doesn't equate to gains.
Right. Harvey, if you want to be on the show, come over here. You can't just buy.
Holy shit, Ron's wearing a Sub Pop t-shirt. I'm so taken back right now.
I am wearing a Sub Pop t-shirt. It's my new shirt.
Oh, dude, that is so cool.
And you don't have a hat on. There's a lot going on right now.
There's a lot to absorb.
There is. Look, we're red, white, and blue. Go USA.
I'm trying to figure out how to go full screen on this, but I guess that's the best screen I got.
But you're in the middle. We can see you.
Now, the feed seems okay, hey?
For the moment, yeah, this is good.
Don't jinx it.
I'm just on the shitty Wi-Fi, but see, I got my ring light.
Oh, look at this.
I don't have a.
It looks like one though. You still have better lighting than me, and you're in a hotel room. So congratulations.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. I got my steak and rice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
What was on the side there? Like tomatoes? What was that?
Yeah, I don't know. That's decoration they give real food that you don't eat.
I have a story.
You know what I mean, right, Dusty?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. So, Ron, I had a little. You missed. I'm at the gym today, and there was someone sideways on the fucking hammer strength chest press again.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I had a long discussion, but we can move past that now because I feel better, and Scott has handled.
You know what the funny thing is? We've been doing this so long, Dusty, that I didn't even know what you guys were talking about, but all I heard was Scott say, people want something different. If I would have done a different, like a regular pull down, they wouldn't have watched it. And I was like, they're and I just knew, I was like, they're talking about stupid fucking exercises.
It's all there is, man. It's all there
That's
is.
what I just knew. I knew exactly what was going on.
You know who I blame for it, though? Truthfully, the heart of it in the beginning is Charles Glass.
Oh, angles. Got to hit the angles.
Because, the backwards hammer machines.
I'm not even hating because he's making $1 jillion doing it. So hey, do your thing. But I always used to laugh because I was like, he'd get on like a chest press and do a row, and people are like, oh yeah. I was like, there's this crazy thing where like right across the way there's a row machine
that's built for that.
That does that.
You know what the funny thing is though? I think if you look at why, I don't know, maybe we should have Charles on the show.
Oh, that would be cool, man.
I'm thinking of why he even started doing that. And if you think about, Glass has been doing this so fucking long. He was doing this back when there wasn't any variety of equipment in the gym. You only had a couple of machines. And maybe there's some situations where that was like, yeah, you gotta make use of this thing. You know what I mean? And there's also certain things that are definitely better than other things. Like not all machines are the same when you do them backwards.
True.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I think it's just funny because I used to watch and I was like, you know what? I always respected it because I trained in Golds for a long time. And I was like, the businessman in me was like marketing 101. You go see this, you go see Dave at the gym, he's going to have you do an incline bench press. And that's fine. But have you ever done an incline bench press on a lying leg curl? Now that's the secret.
Right. It's like when people come to me, they know they're not getting giant sets. Like they're getting straight sets.
Right.
They're getting they're getting like really properly executed max intensity straight sets. They're not getting fancy stuff or anything else. So, people that want to try that stuff, they don't come to me for a workout. Like, hey, can you take me through a chest workout? They know they're getting like a real hard, real simple chest workout, which is how I do things. So it's just funny.
I want to add something too. So just looking at that, the psychology of what Charles Glass is doing, I think he was working with guys like, let's say, Dexter Jackson and other top pros. Here's a thought. Some of these guys, how many times have they done a seated cable row? Like how many seated sets or even reps of seated cable rows has somebody like one of these guys like Dexter Jackson done? So maybe 15 years later when he's working with Charles Glass might change that angle, even if it's not doing anything for him. He's been doing this for so long. Maybe to him he's like, oh, you know what, this is really cool, this is different because I've already done this every week for the last 15, 20 years of my life. But it doesn't necessarily, so maybe there is some benefit for a guy like that. But that's where I keep coming back to pros and what they need.
But I'll tell you what it does, Scott, is it's the same. It's the same thing that Joe Bennett deals with. Okay. Because I spent enough time in Gold's Venice. It's not that Charles Glass is not doing a fucking barbell incline or heavy hack squats. It's that the thing that gets videoed is the different thing that he does because it gets hits, because it gets attention. So then people think that you're going to walk in and train with Charles and you're going to be backwards and upside down on every piece of equipment. Yeah. And it's not the case. I love Joe, and I actually, before I knew him, I thought the same thing. I was like, does this guy ever fucking have somebody squat?
Yeah.
And he's like, 96% of my workouts are the same old shit, but I don't need to post them because everyone's already doing that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, and that's how it was. If you watch, Charles, because I'm sure I'm going to get death threats after this. Like, guys, relax. I know who Charles is. I know he's a legend. No one shoot me.
Yeah.
We're on a first name basis. No one's talking shit. But it's one of those things where the point is it does get bastardized because someone sees it. And this is a point, Ron, that you'll love. Nikki made this point to me because you see things in the gym and you're like, where did they come up with this? Well, I think of that sometimes when I have a client right now, he's going to be mad that I said this, but I've had to send him a dumbbell row video 4 times. And every time he thinks he's doing it, he sends a video back. And I'm like, how do you think this is the same thing? Like, you're filming it, then viewing it, then sending it to me. And it's not the same thing. So imagine if you're sitting backwards on a bench or sideways on a leg press. What he's putting on his Instagram is probably not the exact same that Charles Glass just showed him. True. Is my point. True. You know, because I do see that, and I'm like, I mean, there was once that he sent me 2 videos back to back, and I was like, I can't even see the change that you're saying you made. Yeah. So there is a connection between the two, and not an insult to my client. He's definitely the reason we do this is to get it right. Yeah. So it's like I finally sent a video of me doing them his way, then me dropping down and showing him, then verbally walking through. Yeah. Because it just something in my explanation wasn't working. So I'm like, all right, I know what you mean. We'll go visual.
Did he get it then after you showed him that?
I'll get him again this week. But that's my point. Is that's a dumbbell row, which is a relatively simple movement. But I think that's why Harvey, knock it off. I think that's why they get bastardized. People just think you just grab a dumbbell and pull it. And that's a row. Yeah. You know, like a lateral raise. I always say that that's probably, to me, the most wrecked movement in the gym. Because I think, I just grab some dumbbells and put them out to the side. So, anywho. Yeah. All right. That was all a 30-minute rant, and we could start the topics now.
That's good. That's good. We needed that. Fine. Somebody did.
I do want to touch on, I think this might be my first meal on the show.
Oh. I didn't even show me those. A perfect medium rare. Did they cook it right? Let's see.
Yeah, it's actually good. It's good. Here, I'll show you a bite.
Ron's talked a lot about eating. He's talked a lot about using his silverware. And guys, you get to witness it firsthand today.
Did you see how he was using it like it was fucking cold? That is nice.
That is nice.
At the hotel?
Steak. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It is his first meal. I've chewed food on the meal many times, and people hate me for it. Now they can finally hate the Canadian. Oh, and by the way, guys, Big Ron 20 works again because Ron is back on the show today. I had told him that it didn't work today because you weren't here.
Doesn't work. Sorry, guys. We shut it off.
We turned it off for 1 week.
Do you put a rumor out there? You know, I don't even really know if he's still with Mutant, I guess.
See. At this point, it's real touch and go. I mean, I haven't seen him in an hour. Yeah.
Man.
Well, if nothing else, you should be getting a lot of hits on yours just for the harassment you take.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
My mother just ordered using Ron's code. Yeah.
So I'm having flashbacks to my grade 12 biology class because I used to eat like a half a loaf of bread with a jar of peanut butter just sitting in class and no one else was eating. And I would just sit in the back eating peanut butter sandwiches.
Sitting with a knife. Making it.
Yeah.
With a knife.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're not allowed to bring knives to school anymore, just so you know. You can't do that.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a problem.
The world has changed. Weak.
You know, I had something I wanted to share with you guys, and I sent this over. I took a screen cap. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they always line it up. It's just entertaining local radio show that they then have it syndicated as a podcast called Dave and Chuck the Freak. It's entertaining. I laugh all the time when I listen to that. It's rare I get to listen to it, but I went to another shooting match yesterday, and it was like an hour drive. So I was like, I'll listen to some Dave and Chuck. So I'm driving down the street, and this topic, they say, and up next, which celebrity claims that they need to have sex 5 times a day to feel satisfied? And so they get to that segment, and this is what I hear. I actually, like I said, I took a screen cap. I don't know if this is going to demonetize us or what, but like copyright infringement, but we're going to go ahead and roll with it anyway. We don't have to listen to the whole thing, but check this out.
Why? So Arnold Schwarzenegger did that movie True Lies, and Tom Arnold was in it. And I guess they've been super tight ever since.
Okay.
They're like best friends. You never would expect it, but I guess they are. And Tom Arnold said, listen, to this day, he has more sex than anyone I know.
Wow.
He said he actually has a bunch of women who now visit him daily to fulfill his needs.
Good for him. I didn't know that.
Schwarzenegger and his wife Maria separated in May 2011 after 25 years of marriage, when it was revealed that he had fathered a teenage son with the family maid. Well, because he needed it 5 times a day, right?
Yeah.
But since that split, I guess he's found a string of women that keep him sexually fulfilled. Isn't the dude like in his 70s now?
Yes, but I wonder if he's on stuff. You know, I just saw a video. These guys, I don't know why, but it's suggested to me in my TikTok, these like, I'm doing this trend, or I'm doing this different steroid things. One of the videos I just saw was if you're doing that, you will want to have sex with people that aren't even attractive. Like normally you would not even find someone attractive, but you're on this stuff and you're so jazzed up. And I just wonder with the bodybuilding stuff, if it might explain the maid thing, because we didn't understand the maid thing when we first saw it. But now, like, I've seen a couple videos where the guys were like, you won't believe what you'll do because your testosterone is so high that you're just like, I'll take it from any
we don't need in life.
No, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
I'm just.
That's the gist of it. And go.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny when like the mainstream starts to like really catch on.
To hear Trend on the radio.
Yeah, like the
He didn't even know what it was. He just knew that it made a 7 of 10 and you rocked
this
it.
Thing. Yeah, it's this thing where when you take Tren, girls aren't as fat.
Just boom. That explains a lot of things. What was that movie where the guy was fat the whole time but he didn't know or something? Shallow Hal, was that? Or no, the woman was fat the whole time. And he thought that she was like a supermodel through his eyes, so he was just on Tren.
Could be.
Yeah. Tren. He was on Tren and vodka.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, a 2 o'clock 10 is a 10 o'clock, or a 10 o'clock 2 is a 2 o'clock 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a bar move.
There you go.
10 p.m. you're like, no fucking way. 2 a.m. you're like,
another thing they're not factoring in here, and I think we can all attest to this. They're not factoring in age, because as you get older, you start to go, she's pretty hot. I'd fuck her. And then you're like, yeah, she's got a really pretty smile. What the hell? Like,
you'll pinpoint something that makes it okay.
Yeah, you pinpoint something, or you're like, hey, well, I mean, you know, you're just thinking in your head, you know how guys do that. We don't like to admit this, but like almost every girl we interact with, we're like, yeah, maybe. And then as you get older, that line like drops because you're like, hey, she's pretty funny. Yeah, there's all these other things.
There is some convenience to her not having teeth, I guess.
Right. You know? Right? You know? She doesn't, you know, I know. You know what I'm saying. You start to appreciate more things than just how they look. You know, when you're in your 20s, you're like, that girl's hot. And then like, nah. And then as you get older, you're like, you know, yeah. So I imagine Arnold is what, 70. Justifying. So what's Arnold, 75?
Something like that. Yeah, right around there.
So who are these girls? Are they all like 55?
I don't know, but he'd be doing pretty good. You know, I guess no matter where he's at 75, he's doing all right. You know,
I would say he's slaying because they got to be dumb also. Because anyone that would sleep with him with the things he says out loud is obviously dumb. Sorry.
Here's the thing I like. I like the concept of like a 55-year-old like booty call chick. That's like funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you think of like rich guys calling up their booty calls, and you think of like, you know, the Instagram millionaire guys calling up their list of 22-year-olds to come and service them. And then you like change it to a 76-year-old Arnold. And you're like, who are his booty calls? Like, are they 25-year-old chicks that he like? Is it a server from TGI Fridays? Or is it
love a good TGI
Is
Fridays.
it like Is it like the principal of the principal of his kid's school?
Yeah, the retired
That's
principal.
what I would do.
The retired principal of his kid's school.
Because his kids are adults now, so yeah.
Yeah. You know? Oh yeah, Mrs. Smith. She was running the school back in the day, and you kind of always had an eye on each other.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he
You don't know
probably
what the
has to
story
factor
is.
in too, like that she won't speak. Like he needs someone that could keep it quiet.
Yeah, there's a lot going on when you're Arnold and you have a list of booty calls. Like, how does that work?
Yeah,
Do they get a monthly allowance just to shut up?
like a stipend. Yeah,
You know,
you pick it up when you leave. It's
yeah.
like when you work the booth, you get your couple hundred handed to you throughout the day.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. It makes me
Makes
feel
sense.
like a whore, Dusty.
I try to help you with that.
Yeah, I was
You're just a piece of meat.
though.
the trend thing though. That's what really caught me. I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. They're talking about, Arnold. They're talking about, and then they start talking about steroids, and then he specifically mentions they're on this trend. And I've heard that before. So he's hearing this. That's Chuck, by the way, and he's like a middle-aged, not in good shape guy who's just surfing. He's into gaming and stuff like that. He's surfing around TikTok, and for some reason, these people are getting filtered to him where they're teaching him about trend, which blows my mind. Like he'd probably never find this show.
So,
It
like,
used
the
to be
old
winning.
way would have been like,
Devo.
the old way would have been like, that guy's on steroids. And then there was a period of like, that guy's on testosterone. And now it's like, that guy's on trend.
Yeah.
They can tell he's the main
Interesting.
character.
Yeah.
Good
just wanted to
stuff.
share that
I'm
with
really
you guys.
interested. I'm interested to know what Arnold is doing now. Who are these women? I want to know.
Yeah, he's not talking about his testosterone. He's talking about the women. What is he doing now? Who? Not what. Who is he doing now? That's great.
Does he have an array? Like, is there an array, or are they all just escorts?
Does he
He
have a
could
type?
afford that, You would think he could just make that happen.
Well, he
It'd be
can
cheaper
afford-
to
he can-
actually do that.
Yeah.
If he can afford
cheaper.
porn stars,
Yeah. There you go.
he could just pay the porn stars, like at the top end, the most expensive thing he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
We
Not that I would do such a thing.
Speaking of, are escorts still legal in Canada?
I don't even really know the laws about escorts or any of that stuff in Canada.
look it up.
I don't know. I
How do
don't
you
know
not
what's
know
legal.
that?
I don't know.
Ron knows everything.
I don't know.
I stumped Ron.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's amazing.
I mean, I think it's illegal, but it's like more frowned upon. I don't know if they heavily pursue there's like the escorts that advertise in sneaky ways. I don't know if they do that stuff, if they care. I don't know.
Scott's
I
looking
think maybe
it
they
up.
just try.
So I told you that's how some of my
Prostitution's one of
buddies
those
lost their
things-
virginity in Canada was with escorts. They just called them.
Let's see. Is
It's kinda
sex work illegal in Canada? This is a question. It says that the purchase and soliciting of prostitutes, along with, protection of sex workers. So, okay, this is a big long thing. I don't think I'm going to get a quick answer.
Right.
Yeah. It says sex
Well,
work
now we need
is
to go back and
defined
look it
as an
up.
exchange of sexual services, money, and goods. So there's this bill.
One second. I think you Googled it
C-36.
wrong. I'm going to Google it my own
Yeah,
way.
please. Yeah, do that. You're just gonna look
Because if you
up.
think
You're
it's
just
For
gonna
money
try
in
to.
Canada.
Yeah.
Well, because
I mean, fuck for money.
OnlyFans falls under the definition of sex work now, the vague, long, wide definition of sex work, right? So
It says there's this bill.
that
C-36.
definition has changed. Yeah.
New offense that prohibits purchasing sexual services, makes prostitution.
It's crime now.
Yeah, that's what I initially thought, but I didn't want to just say that. But I think, this
Yeah,
bill
December
C-36.
22nd, 2016. If you pay someone explicitly for sexual services in Canada, that is prostitution. You've committed a crime. Weak. Well,
There you
Canada
go.
used to be better than it is now. Anyways,
No guns, no prostitution. What's happening there?
What if you just
Then the
buy them
ephedrins
dinner
are
and
lowered
pay for
even.
everything? If
What
you
if
buy
it-
them dinner and pay for everything, that's just like your average relationship. Does that still count?
you're still paying for the same thing.
I don't get it.
Agreed. Here's what I don't get. This is what bothers me about this for real. So, a chick can walk up to a guy in a bar and just be like, "Hey, I want to have sex with you." can we do that? And he can say yes, and they can go do their thing. But
Right.
if there's payment involved, now it's not okay. Like, so you can bang 100 million guys, as long as no one gave you any money, it's fine. But if there's
and you could say and then afterwards you can be like, hey, can I borrow $500 and not pay you back? And they can go, yeah, sure. And then it's all legal.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's such a, like, don't we want tax money? I mean, just tax that shit. Easier. Yeah. You can control it. You can make sure they're all tested. They don't got STDs and shit. I feel the same way about drugs. The same thing with weed. Like, you could make a lot of money off of weed. Just make them legal everywhere. It's silly.
That was the thing about what California did to the porn stars there for a while that drove a lot of them out of the state. Is California, the banks started giving the porn stars a hard time about this before OnlyFans, when they were all setting up their own websites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the banks started to close their accounts.
Oh, really?
They were closing their accounts. They're like, we are no longer dealing with you. Here's your money. Leave.
Wow.
And they were closing, and that's why some of the porn stars left for Vegas, because they were having like banking problems, and then the IRS was like getting on their backs and stuff, and they're like, I'm claiming all my fucking money. Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And because it was coming through their website, right? The webcamming and all that stuff. So that's been a big thing, and California drove a lot of them out of the state doing that, which blows my mind, because porn's $1 billion industry, and they literally tried to force it out of California.
That's crazy.
Which is just mind-boggling to force $1 billion industry out of your economy just because, certain people voting think, sex is, that should be illegal or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty nuts. I know all the people involved in the industry were just blown away that it was happening. They're like, are you serious?
Don't you find that it's interesting that the same people who want to push porn out because it's wrong and you can't do it are the ones pushing for let's get children to cut their dicks off and become women because we want them to? Because everyone should be able to do what they want and no one should be judged. I'm like,
right, and feelings matter more than anything and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
it's wild. It's isn't that the same?
Dusty, this is why, when it boils down to politics, I don't, some people identify as something. I don't really identify as anything. I identify as leave me the fuck alone, and I'll leave you the fuck alone. And I don't care how you make a living at all. Just don't cause problems. How's that?
That's fair enough. I like that.
I don't give a fuck what anybody does. But just don't cause problems. And if I don't hear about it and I don't know you're doing it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I could give less of a fuck. And that's my politics. And so when people want to get involved in what I do and limit what I do and tell me what I can own and where I can go and what I can say and, how long my magazine can be.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as your fucking shoes are on in his gym, you do what you do.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, Scott, I had to.
Hey, well, that comes down to don't cause other people problems.
Yeah,
just don't cause
problems. Oh my god,
don't cause problems.
That's so valid. Oh, okay, sorry. Whew.
Dusty.
I told you we were going to be on one today. I warned Scott. I was like, I'm on one today. It's going to be.
And I didn't know what you meant. I was like, one what? Like one hit of acid? Yeah. That'd be an interesting show. Just one.
That'd be easier. I'd be calmer.
I got to throw a movie review in.
Oh yes.
I just feel like because you mentioned the acid, and so there was like a movie. It didn't have anything to do with acid, but there was some mushroom scenes in it. Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with acid, but I was on.
But I was taking some while watching it.
I watched a movie on the plane.
Oh, I like doing that.
Yeah, called The Northman. And it's a super fucking violent Viking movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of a Viking revenge movie,
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know. I haven't watched a movie in a long time where I was like, whoa, what the fuck are they doing? Like, it was really art house.
Huh.
and there was like black and white whenever he was like kind of in a dream sequence or nighttime stuff. And then when he was on mushrooms, there would be black and white, but with the odd thing brightly colored. And then there was daytime scenes that were just color.
Okay.
So it was like kind of uniquely shot, you know? And there was a whole bunch of scenes where you weren't sure if it was real or if he was kind of having a trip.
Yeah.
You know, and a whole bunch of some Vision Quest stuff, and then a lot of just fucking nasty revenge, like Viking style, you know, where, you know, they're ruthless motherfuckers, man. And it was also a gritty, really well done gritty movie. It had a great cast. It had Nicole Kidman was in it, and William Dafoe had a part in it, and there was just like really great cast in it, and I can't remember the main actor's name. He's a Swedish guy, but he was fucking great. And it was gritty because you saw like how, like I just kept thinking the whole time, like they're running around. It's in like Iceland, right? In like Viking days.
Yeah.
So they're running around. The ground's like muddy and wet, and I'm thinking about their feet. I'm like, are they have foot rot? Like their feet are soaked, like muddy soaked all the time. Like how would they take care? Like, and then you think the average life expectancy of these motherfuckers was like what, 30?
Yeah, like real short, real short.
If they're fucking lucky. And then all of them wanted to die in battle because that's the only way you get to Valhalla. Huh. So they're determined to die in battle. They don't want to die an old man. That's like a shameful way to die.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you just think of like the life, and then you show them like it shows them taking a village, right? And there's nothing nice about how they did that. They just take all the girls and put chains around their necks and fucking ship them away. We got some new chicks, some new slaves for our colony, and they just go through the men and just sort them out. Who can work, who can't, fucking dead. You know, fucking round them up. They didn't know, like they just treated people like fucking garbage, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're from another village.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
I'm gonna kill you. Boom. Fuck you. Yeah. Like I just think, man, we come a long ways with how we like how we treat people. You know, there was.
See, I didn't kill that guy on the hammer strength machine. I just talked shit about him. There was no good news if you saw some ships approaching your harbor.
Oh yeah,
like they weren't.
No one's coming for sugar.
To be like, yeah, they're not coming to see like, hey, what do you guys have to trade here? They're like, you see ships coming to your harbor, it's like, oh fuck, you know.
And you know the Vikings. The Vikings were in England. You're in their territory.
Oh yeah.
Well, one of them's going to be there for sure this weekend.
Yeah. There you go.
Competing.
Jamie. Yeah. There's a bunch of his bloodline in that movie too. Just these crazy fuckers, and just what they would. Some of the crazy rituals, like they sacrifice. Something happens, and of course they can't explain it, so they think it's like the gods, right? So they have to sacrifice a young girl. Like, we better sacrifice a young girl immediately. So like the next scene you see this fucking 14-year-old girl just getting stabbed to death, and they're just fucking. Kill her quick, get her, and everyone's singing and chanting and ceremonies going on, and it's just, you just think, fuck. And it just reiterates my constant feeling that we live in the best time to ever live, ever, You just think back at any other time, like, people that say, I'd love to go back to like the Roman Empire and just see what the cities were like. Fuck off. You don't want to go back then. Fuck off. Someone will put a chain around your neck. Someone will just call you their property.
It's no good. No good.
Yeah. So you have 1 second where you don't know, where you look like you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're owned by someone.
Yeah. And if you think about it too, we're not that far off. I was listening to this guy talk about gun control, and his stance was, he was like, our great grandparents, depending on how old you are, were alive back in the old West, like our great-great-grandparents, let's say, just a few great-great-grandparents were alive, like during the time when you were walking around with a 6-shooter to protect yourself. But now we're so far removed from that where we're like, oh no, we don't need anything. We're a civilized society. Government will take care of us.
Back then you could get in a fair fight that someone died, and that's okay as long as it was deemed okay.
Right.
That was a fair fight. You're like, he's dead. They're like, yeah, but it was fair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of laws, a lot of rules since then. That's for sure. Until there's not, because those same people are saying like it's not a good idea for us to have guns, but it was an amazing idea for like fully automatic. Same people that want to take them away from us, Yeah, it's great that they have, which I'm all for too. But
yes, we should.
I love that meme.
That's my politics.
I love the meme of that. I love the meme of the saying, no one should own a gun, and then there's the meme of the guy standing there with his hands on his hips, and it says like, and he's like, fuck, it's pretty funny, but I know what you mean. My granddad used to. I remember him telling me when I was a kid. He's like, oh yeah, they were like, no, he was born in 1905. Wow, my granddad, and he lived till he was 93. So I remember him really well. And I remember him telling me once, he's like, yeah, we didn't have any gun laws.
Yeah, no, that wasn't
like any
until years later. I think 50s, something like that when they started.
Yeah, like there were no laws at all, like none.
Yeah,
and they did all right.
Seemed to work. You're here.
yeah, I'm here. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But I'm over here in England now. So I don't have to worry about getting shot. I only have to worry about being stabbed, since England has the highest violent crime rate in Western Europe.
Fun fact: I don't have to worry about being stabbed for 3 more days, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's it. We're good.
Okay.
I've got a couple questions.
Let's do something.
I had something that I thought this was a perfect question for Dusty. I don't know what your response is going to be, but everybody thinks of you as being, intense trainer. And he said, this may be a dumb question, but how do you confront fear when it comes to working sets? He said, like Justin Harris's Widowmaker set, where he squats 500 for 20 reps, and he needs to beat that the next time.
Well, first of all,
for me, it's simple because you're looking at a guy who he didn't walk up one day doing 300 pounds and tomorrow he's doing 500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he didn't just will it to happen. It's not just willing.
Here's
it to
what
happen.
I think gets thrown off, and I tell people this all the time in relationship to powerlifters. They're walking to a bar and knowing, I hope I can get this once. Mm-hmm. Once. They're going to unrack it and go down to the earth or try to pick it up off the ground or down to their chest. And there are times they have never done that. When I get under a bar that I'm shooting for 20 and I've never done 20 before, I'm not worried I'm going to miss on 1 or 5 or 7. And if I do miss, so like my mind is set to get it, but like nothing's, yes, you get injured, but nothing should happen that couldn't happen at any other rep. Like if you get injured, it wasn't because you went for 20.
Yeah.
Like you have to understand that because that rep range is a safe rep range, because I find it dangerous to say, okay, that's 900, go for 1. And you've never done this. Even if you've done 870 before or 880 or 890, 900 is enormous when you're going for 1. When you're going, if I did 500 for 20 last week and I'm going to go for 505 this week, worst case scenario, I'm going to get 18.
Right.
So I think people got to get that out of their head.
Yeah, the people also, after you've been training that long, I'll think of an example like, let's say you're trying to squat 5 plates for 10. We'll just say like a basic straight set with 5 plates. Like that's a great squat. If you squat 5 plates for 10 reps, you're in like the elite percentage of humans, right? And unless you're on Instagram, and then everybody does it. But if let's say you're squatting 5 plates for 10, that's your goal. For you to put 4 plates on and do 10, you could be thinking about work.
Yeah.
You could be, you don't even have to be there mentally. You can just be like, you could be having a terrible day and still get 4 plates for 10. And your mind's all over the place. You really are only focusing yourself for like, that you really like your performance level without psyching yourself up gets higher. You know what I mean? Like your default ability to perform without having to mentally like psych yourself up, it rises over time.
Yeah.
When you've been training so long, you can just flick a switch and like your form gets perfect and your execution gets perfect. Even if you don't get your adrenaline going, you're still going to have a great set. But when you want to get the, maybe you got 18 before or 19 before, and now you're trying to get the 20. That's when you actually like try to get your adrenaline going. That's when you got to mentally focus and get your head really, really into it. So it's like all that extra effort is for that last rep or two. But the first 18, they're a given.
Yeah.
We've already trained with that weight so many times. It's easy. Like the rest, the whole thing's a given, except for those last 2 reps where you actually break your record. That's the difference. And you might have a bad day and get 17, but you still get in there and give her. So
I joked with Ron when we were doing the leg press in Vegas. I said, it wasn't the first 35 reps that were hard. It was the last 5.
Yeah.
Because that's it. I mean, that's really the truth of it. And like Ron said, I think it's funny. You'll laugh about this, Ron, but the other day, I saw a video of a pretty a good pro I know, and there was a bar on the ground. It had 400 pounds on it, and he was psyching up to grab it, and then he did a deadlift, and I was like, oh, I just assumed he was rowing, because that's how your brain works once you've been in that mindset before. Like if I was psyching up for 405, it's not to deadlift it unless I'm doing like 20, so I think people miss that as your perception changes. So I've seen guys in the gym doing 225 and going into a darker place than I would be doing at 405.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll look at them and I'm like, that was a badass set. Like I watched them go. So I think sometimes, guys, you're putting too much focus on the number because Justin Harris's 500 is your 225. It is the same. Yeah. You have to go there for that weight. And I think that's what, Ron made a great point is when he's doing 4 or 5, it's truly a warm up. He's just like, all right, let me feel how my knees are. Let me drop down. Am I going to piss before I do 495 or am I going to not? Okay. I'm done with that. He's not thinking, So that's a valid point. But I think that the key, and it's something that JP talks about, is if you are overly amped up, find a way to bring yourself down before those sets. Don't listen to fucking crazy music. Bring yourself back down before you go to war, and then you're going to be in a better place. You can't be amped up and worried before you get under the bar. You're fucked.
Yeah, there's like a certain amount of it's what I learned that over the years. I look back to like my younger days, and I would we've talked about this, just crazy animal psych yourself up. And it might be great for that set, but sometimes it's detrimental, like overall. You get such a crash after stuff like that. It can make the rest of your workout a little bit. Like it could take you down a notch if you fry your brain, fucking fry yourself on the first thing. So managing your emotions and managing your energy. Of course, you want to be hyped up and full of energy and all that, but like we talked about wasting energy, right? Like when you're just leaking energy everywhere except where you're, trying to go. And I think I did a lot of that. I used to leak energy, you know what I mean? Just putting too much out. Putting too much out and not centering yourself. And there's something to be said about those Zen guys that can just and then they just go into it, bam, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that.
I had one other thing I want to show you guys because this is pretty freaking awesome. These are the top cities for the audio downloads in the last 7 days. So these are just cities. Now, I think in some cases, what we're looking at here is like maybe Roseville, wherever that is in the U.S., is a hub. So that
that's what that is. Yeah,
it's collecting views from areas close by to that area. There's some sort of hub there.
Is that maybe where like a central server is or something?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But check that out. Seaford.
Oh, Kelowna.
Kelowna. And a lot of times the top 3 will be, in fact, I can never say the name of your city, Ron, Coquitlam. Did I say that right?
Coquitlam, yeah. Yeah, okay. Coquitlam, yeah.
Coquitlam is often in the top 3, believe it or not, cities.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, but
I'm laughing at the cities. There's a lot of England there.
There's a ton of England, and that last one is Spain. Deny? Is that how would you say that? DENIA. And
you think of like the Isle of Man, like there's got to be a server hub there that's taking traffic from all over the place. It's just so hilarious. I mean, how many bodybuilders are even on the island of Man? Well, at 800.
It appears there are 864.
But I wonder where that's drawing from. Because it says Spain in general is our. What is it? Spain is our fifth highest country right now.
What's first?
First is the U.S., then the United Kingdom, then Canada, then Australia, then Spain. Sweden is at the next space, then Germany, then the Netherlands, New Zealand, Romania, Belgium, Denmark, United Arab Emirates, France, South Africa. So we've got people all over the place, we really do. And I guess I wanted to take a second just to say shout out to everybody everywhere. And if you are like Isle of Man or something, shout out to you. Thanks for watching or listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy to know there's people in South Africa listening to the show and, that sort of thing. It's just, I always give this example. We've talked about it on the show a bunch of times, but in the old days, if you had a seminar, you'd be happy to get 20 people at the gym for your seminar. Back in the 90s, I did some seminars. Gym owners would say, "Hey, do you want to do a seminar? You're the best bodybuilder in this gym."
Yeah.
Like, do you want to do a seminar? That's how it used to work.
That's cool.
Yep.
And you'd be happy if 20 people showed up, and you'd have a lot of fun and talk bodybuilding and tell them stories. And sometimes they'd ask technical questions about training, and sometimes they just want to know who you met and hear stories.
Yeah.
It was like it was the very, very beginning of like the whole concept of this stuff, but it was in person. And now you think like someone can listen from New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
And I know that we're all jaded by technology and we're all super used to it. And, quit talking about it, Ron, but it is awesome to me. Like, it is pretty crazy to see where we've come and what we can do now, just with I'm on my phone right now and I feel like my picture's better than on my fucking laptop. Like, I don't even get it.
Huh. You look clear, actually.
I was going to say, yeah.
I think your camera's better. I think your camera's better.
Because I just bought that Air Mac like a year ago. I mean, why does my phone have a better camera than my Mac, But that's how it goes. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Ron, right now at this moment, Ron looks clearer than any of us, which is incredible.
Sure. I try to do that on purpose with mine, but yeah. He also has that custom ring light, so there's that.
Yeah. It's like burning my eyes if I stare at it.
A hotel light forced into his face. He actually won't see for the next week. Yeah. When I get there, he's going to be like
little circle.
I'm giving up vision for you, Dusty. I'm trying to move
Blue
our
light
shoot.
special.
I'm trying to move this shoot that I planned poorly to Friday so that Dusty can be in it with me.
Huh? Okay.
Because we were going to do like an hour and a half before I had to be there from the time my flight hit the ground. I was like,
I didn't realize you were here Thursday. I thought you were coming Wednesday.
I thought it was funny that you actually took those tickets because they were all joking about how they were going to send you on Monday, and they did. And I was like, wow, they really did it. That's crazy. He's there alone. Thank God he doesn't have like a business to run or anything.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see Dino. We'll hang out with Dino for a bit.
Nice.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
That's the highlight of the trip. These are the things I'm looking forward to. Most is the people and all that. So, and it's been forever for me. I haven't been there since we were there last. I've been to England in years.
2019.
That's freaking.
Oh well, I came in 20. Did you even come? Yeah, you were here in 2019. That was the year last.
Nope, I came in. I came in No, I 18. Came in 18. Charity came in 19.
Yeah,
they traded me in.
Okay,
bastards.
Okay.
Yeah, who's there now, punks? Anyways.
Yeah. How long were you guys on before I hopped on?
We've got an hour show right here. This is it's a good place.
Yeah, we've already locked it down, dude. We did it.
We're good.
We set our goals. We got it done. You ate your steak and your lousy sides.
You doing what you would have been doing anyway. You would have been just like back at the hotel eating, but you did a podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine to keep rolling unless you guys are in a hurry. I don't know what you want to do.
He did this for the viewers, for Mutant, for Canada, really. We got any more, Scott? We'd go a little longer. I don't have to pick any. I've got like 10 minutes before I have to leave.
What do you? I know you had some questions. I have.
Oh yeah, I did have that one, but you can go ahead with one more.
If you've got something else, I've got one other.
Oh, I do have that one that I thought would be good. And we've kind of touched this before, Ron, but it's been a minute. So, what's the most memorable competing stage moment that you have? And I know you've got some good ones, so you competed with some great guys.
Stage moment. Like actually posing and like being on stage?
I think competing. So like not leading into the show, but like the show itself is going to be the way I'm twisting this answer to be my question.
Well, so there was one that I remember because of just my mental state. If you've ever had the privilege of winning a show, which I was lucky to win a couple shows, I did 24 shows and I won a couple of them, the moment when you know you're going to win, sometimes it's when they call your name, right? Obviously.
Right.
But then there's other times when you're like, oh, I'm going to win this show. And I remember the 99 provincials. It was my poverty prep that I talk about.
Yes.
I was peeled to the bone, like, chicken and vegetables diet for like 6 weeks. It was the roughest diet. And I remember there was like 7 or 8 heavyweights in that show, and they were all big guys, like 220, 240, that 250, like that size, and I was 240. And we were pumping up backstage, and you know how it is when you're a young bodybuilder. It was only my third, real show, and I was looking, everyone looked pretty good pumping up, like those fucking lights above,
Oh,
everyone's standing there doing curls, and you're like, that guy's arms are bigger than mine. Fuck, that guy's chest is so thick. You're looking around, fuck. And we walked out, and I was just by numerical order, I was in the middle, right? So they just had one big line of heavyweights. They didn't bother doing call-outs because there was like 7, I think. So they just had one line of guys, and they just kept it one line. And we walked out, and we did one round of mandatories, and then the head judge, I remember his name was Ken. And I remember Ken, he actually like stood up and kind of leaned forward over the table, and he goes, Ron, can you just go stand on the end? Like he said my name. He goes, hey, Ron, and he kind of like waved like this. He's like, Ron, can you just go stand on the end? And I was when I first heard him say it, I was like, oh, I just got moved to the outside.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So as I walked down to the end, the crowd started laughing. And then I stood on the end, and then I realized all the judges were just staring at the middle 3 guys now.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And I was like, oh, I just won the class, like really easy.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I was like, oh, fuck, that's fucking cool. And then I was looking at people's faces in the crowd, and all the people I knew in the crowd were like, fucking easy. They're all going like this. And I was like, oh, okay, fuck. But just, it was funny to me because I've never ever heard them say that. They would say like 12 switch with 14.
Yeah.
Or like 5 switch with 2. But just the fact that he's Ron, can you just go stand on the end? It was just funny. I'll never forget that.
We're not looking at you anymore. Could you just move or go to the back or something? Yeah.
It was pretty funny. And then probably the most intense, because there's, I had a lot of disappointing close call losses, right? So those are all like, they're all special to my heart, Dusty.
Of course.
But when you have a close call win, you really remember it. And I won the super heavies in 07. I didn't win the overall, but I won the super heavies, and there were 33 super heavyweights. So it was a massive class. And Ben Pekulski was in my class that year. He showed up for the first time, and we all knew Ben was coming. He was the kid from Ontario with the giant legs. That's what everyone was like. There's this kid from Ontario with like the craziest fucking pro legs. Like they're out of this world.
Yeah.
It's going to be really... he's not the most complete guy at the time, right? But his legs are so nuts that it's gonna be hard. There's no one's gonna beat him. Like that's what people were saying, and I was like, oh fuck. So I get there, and Ben's there, and right away, first call out, me and Ben side by side in the middle, and he actually was in the middle, right? And we did a round of posing, and then the judges moved me to the middle. And the crowd went nuts because it was in my hometown. And we did a round of poses. And then they moved me out of the middle and put him back in the middle. And I remember the adrenaline that went through me. I was just fucking, like, I was just so amped up. I was like, I gotta fucking get the center back. I'm gonna get the center back. And I was just posing my ass off and being perfect like a robot.
Yeah.
And the crowd was going crazy. And I could see the judges looking at Ben, looking at me, looking at Ben, looking at me, looking at Ben like this. They're just going like this, all of them. Like back and forth, every pose. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. It was so intense. We actually did 8 rounds of mandatories.
Oh, hell yeah.
8 rounds. They worked the fuck out of us. It was by far the most I ever got beat up at prejudging. Because a lot of times the super heavies were like, call you out 2 rounds, move a couple guys.
Right. This guy's not in shape. This guy's not in shape. You know.
Yeah, that's the top 5.
Yeah.
There's first, there's second, you know. But with our top 5 call out, there's 5 of us. We did 8 rounds of mandatories. That's how, because they were mixing everybody, and me and Ben. And then after a couple rounds, because Ben was in the middle for a couple of rounds because they were moving the other guys, and I thought, oh fuck, they're done with us. And then all of a sudden they go Ron back in the middle, and the crowd just goes boom. And I moved back to the middle. I fucking rights. Like I was just, I have never. It was like a football game. Like I was like, fucking, let's fucking go. Like I was in my head. I was just an animal.
Hell yeah.
And we posed. And then I remember standing in the middle, and the judges were looking back and forth. And I remember the one judge had his pen, like he was holding his pen, you know, and he's pointing it at me, pointing it at Ben, and he's talking to the other judge. And he looks at me, and I'm still in the middle at this point, and he goes, "Thank you very much. We'll see you this evening." And I was like, fuck! You know? And we walked off stage, and obviously, and I beat Ben by 1 point. Yeah.
That's bodybuilding.
That's badass, dude. That's bodybuilding right there. Like that's
1 point.
That's what it's all about, competing.
That was easily the most intense prejudging I ever had, and it was also extra intense because it's not like I was battling for 3rd or 5th or something, right? It was like for the win. And I remember as we were walking off stage, there was 2 other guys that also turned pro later, so like the top 5 was crazy. Walking off stage, and we're all like kind of laughing, like we were all like, holy fuck, they just about fucking killed us. And I remember I didn't know Ben yet. Like, we hadn't really met. Like, we just briefly met. And I remember I looked at him and I said, man, that's way harder than when you're in your basement with a fan blowing on you and a cold Diet Coke and your girlfriend telling you how good you look. and he just cracked up laughing. He was like, yeah, because the lights were so hot, right?
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's way harder than practicing posing in my basement with a fan on me and a cold Diet Coke and your girlfriend tell me how good I look. And he just fucking laughed. And but yeah, what a great level of competition. And I mean, obviously he was a fierce bodybuilder. He came back the next year and won the show and turned pro and everything. So, but yeah, that was probably the most intense, like, you know, positive, you know, moment I had.
That's badass, dude. That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
That's a story that I have never heard for the record, so
Really?
I know none of you fuckers have heard it.
Yeah.
I don't even know
it was
that
crazy.
one.
Yeah, they moved us. You know, I got moved out, and then they left me out, and then I got moved back in, and then it was like, fuck.
That's a lesson, though, for anyone who doesn't practice their posing enough.
Yes.
Because had you slipped, you would have lost.
No question.
So here's the punchline. Here's the punchline. The following year, when Ben beat me and won the overall and got his pro card, he came up to me backstage, and he shook my hand, and he goes, "I have to tell you something." And I go, what's that? And he goes, "Last year when I flew home, I thought I got ripped off. I thought you won because you were a hometown boy."
Huh.
And he goes, "And then I saw the video. And my fucking abdomen was all over the place, and I wasn't holding my poses, and you were standing there like a fucking robot."
Yep.
And I was like, fuck. And then he said, "I thought about that all year."
I bet he did.
Yeah.
That's cool,
Yeah,
dude. That's what makes people better in bodybuilding. I've had people like that where you just think about one guy. One guy was, I remember this guy. I didn't even know him, but he looked fantastic, and he beat me. And then the next year, I was like, I probably won't even see him in the state level show. Probably won't even see him. His name was Dan Strudgeon. I was like, but regardless, I know I have to beat Dan in order to win my class next year. Like, that's all I knew. And I was like, I just used that as a tool. I didn't hate him or anything, but I definitely thought, like, I got to be better than this guy. It was cool. Later, we ended up becoming friends, and then he asked me if I would coach him, because he was a bigger bodybuilder. He had really nice size, beautiful legs, really nice back, but he wasn't able to get the conditioning that I had gotten. So we teamed up, and then we won shows. He was really good.
Oh, nice.
Really good.
That's awesome.
But that's the cool thing about competing is, you know, like, we want to be better, right? We want to improve, and that's that, like, outside catalyst. Because Ben Pekulski, he might have not ever had that kind of control in his posing had it not been for you. You forced him to raise the bar, you know?
Well, I think we all force each other over time, and it adds up. And there's some big leap moments where you really get a lesson taught to you, and there's a bunch of little lessons maybe you don't even realize you're learning. And, you know, maybe that is one of the ones, but I'll never forget what he said, because he went out of his way to come up to me and tell me that when he got home and saw the video, he realized why he didn't win. And he's like, yeah, you outposed me. You beat me in the back double. You beat me. And then he told me, he goes, you beat me in the ab thigh. And I have the best legs in the country. And he's like, so,
almost in the world.
like, and he's like, because you know how guys do that lazy ab thigh where they do the ab thigh and they hold it for like 1 second and they can't hold it, so then they go to the one arm, and then they go to the other arm, and they're just lazy. It's just lazy because they can't hold the ab thigh and they're breathing so heavy. Whereas I was always able to. I don't know if it was from my martial arts training or whatever, but I could hit an ab thigh, lock it in, and just breathe through my diaphragm, and I could stand there for like 2 minutes.
It's a really good pose on you too, you know, with your size and your size, you know, small waist. I think that shot looked really great on you.
So, yeah, it was just one of those things. And, but, you know, hey, everyone gets their ass kicked and learns something, you know. And then Ben beating me taught me a lesson, because that was the year I accidentally got super flat for morning. And I remember, like, the amount of regret I had over what happened. I was like, fuck. And then, you know, he came up to me at the night show and he's like, what did you do from morning? And I go, I drank like a gallon of water. And he's like, you look way fucking bigger.
Huh.
And I just remember, my instincts all morning were telling me to rehydrate.
Yeah.
But I was afraid to, because I thought I would lose condition. I was like, oh, I don't want to put water in. I'm so dry.
Yeah.
But I was dry and flat.
Yeah, which is nothing.
You know? And I remember my coach wasn't there, and like, he's a really good coach, but he was like, well, you don't look flat in the pictures, you just look peeled.
Huh.
And I'm like, no, I'm like really flat, man. I got nothing going on. And he's like, well, fuck, your pictures are like too good, maybe. I don't know. But he you know, he had me drink a bit of fluid, but it just wasn't like enough. And then after the prejudging, I just fucking guzzled water, had a big Diet Coke, and fucking, you know, I didn't even eat anything. I just drank. And then came back at night just bursting with striations everywhere. And it was like, you know, and so that was a lesson of mine. Like, you know, we all learned that lesson. You're afraid to drink water, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you drink and all of a sudden you blow up and you look way better and you're like, oh, fuck. You know?
I think that's the thing, though, is being willing to learn the lesson is something that I think a lot of competitors don't do anymore. They search for someone to tell them why they should have won, so why they bring it on the internet. And it drives me crazy because, Ron, I had the exact same thing in reverse. In 2013 at North Americans, there was traffic. I was late to prejudging. Like, as in, I walked in, dropped my clothes, threw my arms out, 3 ladies glazed me, and I walked onto the stage pretty much. Yeah. And I knew the competitors, and I came out, and I'm in the 5th place spot. And I'm looking at the top 5, and I know I'm 3rd. I'm not 1 or 2. They're way better than me. I'm 3rd. And I get 5th place, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that is bullshit. Then I saw the video, and I was Ben Pekulski. The breathing was a mess because I basically literally ran in. I wasn't thinking. I was a mess, and it showed. And after I saw the video, I was like, I'm really glad they put me in the top 5. Whew.
Right.
I could have fallen out of that. Like, it was embarrassing, especially for somebody who'd competed now 4 times at the national level. Like, you don't do that. It was brutal. So I really think that more people need to do that, because I do feel like a lot of athletes and people in general, the answer is just, well, I was the most peeled guy. I should have won. They're afraid to go, I was flat. Because it's not a who's the most peeled guy contest. And it's not the who's the best guy in these 5 pictures, and they just happen to catch Dusty with his abs tight for a fucking split second when they were blown out the rest of the time. You know what I mean? So I think, the answer to that and what made Ben better, what made you better, is more people should ask themselves after a show, why did I not win? Don't say, why should have I won? Why shouldn't I have won? Look for that thing that you didn't do, even if you don't agree.
Yeah.
Look for one goddamn thing that you could say, oh, it was that. Because if not, you're not taking ownership, and I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Can I tell you one thing that I tell people, and I get really, really frustrated when they don't listen or they don't understand how urgent I think it is. But if the front relax pose, the front double bi, the front lat spread, everything from the front, your upper quads have to be lit up.
Yep.
At all
your
times.
Hips.
You have to be split up to your hips at all fucking times.
Absolutely.
Meaning not 1 second that you are on stage should your upper quads not be split. And I tell this to people, and they go, yeah. And then they walk on stage, and their upper quads are not there, and they're not split, and they maybe they split for a second when they hit a shot, and then they fade.
Yeah.
And then they get third. And they go, well, I guess I got to be bigger. And I'm like, no, you gave away at least 1 spot with your legs. At least, maybe 2. You could have won. Like, the number of times I've seen that, and then people don't realize how urgent I'm being. Like, it is a fucking emergency to make sure you can do that.
Yep.
It's when you're sitting in the crowd and 10 bodybuilders walk on stage and they all stand front relaxed, first thing I do is V-tapering condition across the board.
Yeah.
V-tapering condition. And what's the condition marker? The fucking legs.
Yep.
Agreed.
Everybody's got abs.
And if they're not split to the hip, I don't know that you're not posing them. I just think you're not in shape. And you don't get points for stuff you don't show me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, my legs are shredded. Yeah, they don't look shredded, so it doesn't matter. Yep. It doesn't fucking matter how ripped your legs are if you can't pose them.
Yep.
And I get so worked up when I tell guys, like, upper quads. And there's guys that put a lot of work into it. Like, my training partner, Braden, had a real hard time last year at his first show. He couldn't get his upper quads. He just couldn't get the mind-muscle connection until literally like a week out. And then it came, and then when he walked on stage, he did a great job of like, in almost every photo, his quads are all tight. And he wound up winning the overall at his first show, right? So it was awesome. But some people just don't realize how urgent it is. And there's quads from the front, and then like your glutes and hams from the back. That's another thing. Like when they hit back double biceps and the glutes relax. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Amateur hour. You don't get to win anything. You don't get to win.
Yeah.
Well,
I did that with Dan, working with him before the show. I just tell all my clients, you have to be perfect the entire time. Because if I glance up as a judge and I see the glutes aren't in, I don't go back to look and make sure you weren't hitting him right. I'm like,
you don't
he's
get a
fat.
second chance.
Yeah,
he's fat. I'm done with you. He's fat.
Done.
And I just move on. And I'm like, he's not fat. Put him in the middle.
and also, too, as you move up the ranks, the judges get less and less forgiving and more immediately ruthless. Like, at the entry level, they might go, that guy's more ripped. He's not good at posing, but he's clearly the best bodybuilder out of these group of 5 guys.
Yeah.
And because it's an entry-level show, I have time to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you get to the next
33
level.
33 super heavyweights.
Yeah, let's go to nationals where they got a really long day ahead of them. You think they're gonna give every guy a second chance to impress them? No, not one single second chance.
Yeah.
You have one fucking job. And I tell guys, I'm like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's less important than that. Like, the quads being tight in the front shots is such a key, because that's the pose you're in for the vast majority of the time you're on stage, right?
Yep.
You're standing there in a front relaxed, or you're doing a front double or a front lat spread. It takes up 50% of your stage time is standing in the front.
A lot of it.
When
Yeah.
when your class is big enough, if you're not doing that from the front, I don't even need to look at your back, because I've already decided you're
that's
not in
another
shape.
thing. I don't even look at your back. You're done. You're done.
Because there's
People don't
7
get that.
guys that are peeled to their hip already. So by the time you're turning around, I'm looking at those 7.
Yeah, it's over with. Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
And they don't get it. Some people don't get it, and they take their level 1 posing that maybe did them well, and they just take that to the level 2 or level 3, and then they're like, "What happened? I got my ass kicked."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, you had level 1 posing, man."
Yeah.
You know? And I don't mean to get so I feel like sometimes when I let myself get a little bit urgent about this, people actually get the message, because they come up to me and say stuff. They're like, "Hey, that rant you did, I got it." You know? But that's
Well, when a
it's
Canadian
true.
gets pissed, you gotta listen.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really important.
Yeah.
You know?
It is.
You know?
It's baffling though, because you spend 16 weeks with every single thought being the show, and then you leave out something enormous. I had the same thing. I'm working with a guy currently that's a classic physique guy, and he's not perfectly built for it. And I started seeing his pictures. We're into the off season now, and I'm like, "You doing your planks and your vacuums?" I've loosened up a little bit. I go, "Did you notice that I knew?" That's the most important thing for you. I'd like you to skip rows, if need be.
Right. Right. Some guys can skip fucking leg day.
Because that's the thing is, so you're. Oh no, I'm sorry, I lied. He is a men's physique guy, so he's in the gym blasting his fucking legs, and I want him to do that. Don't get me wrong.
Sure,
but if I had to trade, then I want him doing his vacuums, his planks, and any transverse abdominal work, and skipping quads altogether because they're covered. And again, I mean, it's not that I want to do that, but it's funny because people get away from the stuff that's not sexy. But if Ron didn't kill himself in the basement with the fan with a Diet Coke, by the 5th round, he would have lost. Because 8, no one gets ready for 8. I'm sorry. No one gets ready for 8 sets of quarter turns of mandatories. No,
that is brutal.
So
you
the
guys
hardest
all
posing
had to be beat up.
You're usually I used to always say, okay, they're never going to turn us more than 3 times, so I'm going to practice 5 every time. Right. And I never did more than 5 on stage ever. So, but I will tell you, as you advance again, like you said, Ron, at the Olympia, you'll do more than 5. At the Arnold, you'll do more than 5.
Oh, yeah.
So you're right. Everything has to go up and work, but it's crazy that it gets missed because you'll put all that time in, and it's something to be. I mean, I've done it, so I can tell you, there's nothing quite like getting 5th when you were good enough to get 3rd, and you deserved 5th, maybe even 6th, because you fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
What about if we change the question a bit? I mean, I think 2013 is probably the year you've mentioned that it was was that your rough year, or was that 2012? Most humbling. What would be the most humbling show?
So 12th was the worst year, 12. And I mean, that was a situation I'll never forget, because I'm prepping for the show. I had a bunch of personal shit going on. I was executing everything like I always do. And I remember the night before the show trying to get pictures for Chris and going to 900 different spots trying to find lighting that looked good. And the reason I couldn't find lighting that looked good is because I didn't look good. I could have been in perfect lighting. And it was because the physique just didn't come along. That was different because it was a wake-up call in reverse. It was kind of like what we were talking about the other day about money. It was, don't get ready for a show if you're not in a place to do a show. Because I executed perfectly. I've never cheated on a diet my day in my fucking life. I've never done 1 step less of cardio, nothing. And that show, I looked off season when I got to the stage. I took 10th.
This wasn't there.
And thank God it was the weakest depth class I'd ever done, or I would have taken lower. I mean, it was brutal to look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I would have just done worse. All I needed was more people to do worse. So,
Yeah.
so, it was just one of those scenarios, but that was again a wake up. It's like, so literally after that show, the next morning I was doing cardio and getting ready for the USAs, which this is November, USA is the end of July. I wasn't literally dieting, but I literally said to myself, okay, eliminate everything from your life that could get in the way. People, things, anything. And it was never an issue again. Because it was a learning thing, and it was a brutal one because people, the assumption is you didn't do your diet or you did something wrong. It was way worse than that. Did it all right and nothing worked because I was a moron in my personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy, which is like the money.
Yeah. I think the most humbling experience I ever had on stage was 2013 at Nationals. And it's the only time I ever did the Canadas and didn't make the top 5. I wound up in 6th. I was in the first call out, but then they added a 6th guy to the call out, and then they bumped me to 6th. And I didn't know. I had no idea I wasn't going to make top 5. I thought I was a fucking shoo-in for top 5 just because I was looking around the lineup. I was like, oh, I'm not at my best. It was a bad year. I was injured a bunch of times, but I'm here and I'm top 5 again. And then at the night show, when they called the top 5 finalists and they didn't call my number, I remember just being like, "Oh man, what the fuck!" My world collapsed on me because I'd never not been a top guy. And there was like 25 guys in the class, and I wound up 6th, and it was like a nightmare scenario for me that I didn't make the top 5. Right. Didn't get to do my posing routine, right? Only top 5 pose. So I was just I felt like a nobody. I'm like, oh, I'm a nobody now. What the fuck? Like, it was really, really a bummer. And looking back on it, I shouldn't have done the fucking show. I had 2 quad tears during the prep. So 16 weeks out, I was squatting with 4 plates and like a 50 pounds of chain on each side, like heavy squatting. So the chains were set to load out of the, you come out of the hole about halfway up, they would load off the ground, right?
Yeah.
And as I came up, I felt a crunch, crunch, crunch in my inner upper quad. And I knew something was wrong. So I racked the bar and I went to squat down and it hurt. So I was like, oh fuck, I think I just tore something. My leg looked fine. Like, I didn't tear anything off the bone, but I tore some muscle fibers badly because my leg turned purple. And we went to the Arnold Classic the following week, and I was at the booth all weekend with a big swollen purple leg. I had a compression sock on and everything. And it took about a month before I could train quads again. So now we're 12 weeks out, right? And we're 12 weeks out, and I'm like, okay, everything's going good. I'm losing weight. My prep's good. Now that my leg's fine, I can train it again, right? I'll be fine. I'm Dorian Yates. I can win even though I got an injury, right? Whatever. So my quad's feeling good. It's feeling good. I'm fine. And then about 3 weeks out, I was leg pressing, and my upper outer quad popped. That upper outer quad pop, if you've ever had that happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And right away, it was really sore, really hurt. I couldn't put weight on it. And we're 3 weeks out. And I'm like, well, fuck. And so I was trying to do some light extension, see if the blood in there, but my leg was all smooth. And it took, the show was 3 weeks away, and it took 4 weeks for the fluid to go. So I went to the show, and I had one quad that was harder than the other. But in my head, I'm like, well, I'm 262. I'm in good shape, and I'm always a top 2 guy. So I'm going to go there and kick some ass and cross my fingers, and I'll just show them the good leg, and I can pose around this, and I got this. I was just indestructible. Right. Nothing's going to stop me. I don't pull out of shows. Are you kidding? That's for people that tear pecs and shit. I didn't tear anything bad enough. I'm still fine. And then I went to the show and got 6. And then afterwards, the judges were like, yeah, you're conditioning in your, because you know how judges only have a few seconds to look at you.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, your conditioning in your legs just wasn't on par with how you normally look. But it was really one leg.
Yeah.
But they don't have the time. Once they're scanning across, they're done with you. That's how that they're not going to take the time to figure out why one leg is watery.
Right.
And then give you points for it.
Yeah.
And I just remember afterwards, I was like, I'm such a fucking idiot. I could have looked in the mirror and seen that I wasn't ready to win the whole fucking show.
Right. Yep.
I mean, I got some shots from that show. I got a side chest pose where I just looked fucking huge, because one of the things was I knew my leg wasn't like I knew that like taking diuretics doesn't get swelling out, right? So I thought, well, I better be full. So I ate and loaded for that show. Like my side chest was just fucking enormous. And I remember in my hotel room, I was like, I'm not the leanest I've ever been, but I'm fucking big. Yeah, like I might win this. And then it just doesn't matter. Everybody else is big too, buddy.
Gotta love the reverse.
Yeah, you got it. We get stuck in our heads, and I was just thinking, I don't quit, because that's how I always was. Like, it doesn't matter what obstacle, I'll just fucking figure it out, But then that I remember the flight home from that show was a lot of like, what a waste of time, money, drugs, just everything.
Possible growth that could have went for next year while staying in the off season. I think it's funny that you have the reverse things too, though, because the first USAs I did, when I was backstage, I was just looking around, and Scott, that was 2010, so Jason Hull won that year. Okay, I remember that. Yeah, and everyone in the top 10 is a pro now of the super heavies. I mean, but I'll never forget. I was on backstage. I'm looking around, and I get on stage, and I got done, and I was in the top 5, and all I was thinking the whole time was, God, these fucking guys are so big, and I don't have pretty shape. So I was like, this is brutal. And I come out, and Aceto goes, you are fucking massive. And I was like, I am? Then I saw the pictures, and I was like, I'm ugly as fuck, but he's not wrong. I look really big next to these guys. Yeah. Because I think in my head, I just knew they were all better. So I immediately was like, I'm smaller and not put together. I'm fucked. You know what I mean?
Did you guys see the video of that poor sport guy that was like yelling at the judges? Did you see that video?
Oh,
I
didn't see that.
And then he that was from somewhere in the Middle East, wasn't it? Because there was like some. Yes. I'm not sure if it was just like an Arabic page I was on, or if it was a Middle East show. But the guy like sat down on the stage too, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, it was unreal.
Really?
They were called. I can't remember what it was, but somebody called him the Iranian Bumstead. Why is the Iranian Bumstead so mad?
Because
he was
he had a good.
He was put together. He looked great, but he was pissed about something.
He was like yelling at the judges and fucking making a big scene on stage, and then he had a little sit-in. I don't know what that was about, protesting something.
That's always good for you. They'll usually change it for you on the spot if you just sit down.
They love that. They love that. Judges love that.
I should have tried that in 2012, and maybe I would have got my pro card then, even though I sucked. I should have sat on the stage. Steve would have been like, fuck it, give him a pro card.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice rehashing my most painful competitive memory with you guys.
I'm glad you brought it up. We can all go be sad now. I'm gonna go have two drinks, but I gotta go.
So here's the lesson for everybody. You got to learn from your mistakes, and you didn't win the show because you didn't deserve to win the show. How's that?
It's a good lesson.
You know what? The best advice I was ever given that was so great from one of my early coaches was, don't give them a choice. So be the biggest, most ripped, best posed. If you do all those things, you don't give them a choice. But if one of those things is a weakness, they now have a choice, and fuck you if you disagrray.
Yeah. And one of the most common things people ask me is because I got, all those second places at pro qualifiers, right? So people often ask like, oh, that must have really, blah, blah, blah. And like, obviously there was a couple years where I thought I was going to win just because of what I thought, so I was upset, but I never, ever, ever carried it any wear past that because I always thought it's my own fault for allowing it to be close.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, like if, like I lost a couple 1-point decisions and I lost a couple where I had, 2 judges had me first and 4 judges had me second or whatever, it's just my fault. So what if a couple judges had me first? Who gives a fuck? There's 7 judges. You need 4 of them. It's your own fault. And if you're only trying to get 4 of them, that's another mistake. You should be trying to get 7 of them.
Yep. So,
yeah, close calls are losses. Sorry, that's just how it goes. And you can't dwell on them or blame anybody. And, sometimes I hear people complain about their placing and I'm like, fuck, don't complain to me.
Yes. Never a good look.
So, anyways, have you got to go, Dusty?
Yep. I got to go pick up children.
Okay. Well, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment.
And ring the bell.
We didn't do that at the beginning. We needed Ron.
We started the fucking show without even. We did the thing like you did on that podcast, Ron. We were talking, and then we just next thing I know, we were in the show, and then you were here, and you then I had to bring back your fucking discount code because you were here, and it was crazy. Thanks, Mutant.
Yes, remember IamMutant.com. Big Ron 20. Thanks, everybody.
20.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.
Adios.
Camera. There we go.